Good morning. Welcome to the UU Church of the South Hills, also known as Sunnyhill. We're delighted that you could join us for this service today. Our mission here at Sunnyhill is to create a more just and compassionate community within and beyond our walls. Is this better? Okay, great, thanks. My name is Krista Stanley, and I serve as a worship associate for this congregation. If you're a newcomer or visitor to our congregation, please go to sunnyhill.org and click the button that says New to Sunnyhill to receive more information about our congregation and to receive our weekly email newsletter. Also, if you'd like to be greeted as a newcomer today after our service, please take a red mug and members will seek you out to make sure that you are warmly welcomed. If you're joining us online today, please say hello or good morning in the comments on Facebook or YouTube. We'd like to hear from you and extend a welcome to you as well. For all of those who are here in person, a gentle reminder, please silence your cell phones and other electronic devices so that we can enjoy this service uninterrupted by buzzing or ringing. If you have a restless infant or toddler with you today and need a place to take a break outside the sanctuary, we have an infant care room in the back corner, and you can access that through the hallway where you can still see and hear the service. Today's service is titled Reverence, Wonder, and Awe. Advent is meant to be a time of reflection and experiencing reverence, wonder, and awe. Rather than hurrying through this time of year in a mad rush of consumption and exhaustion, how might we make room for quiet reflection? Our opening words were written by Scott Taylor. Look, friends, to the sky, to the stars that dance above this tiny globe on which we travel. Look to the horizon, the tree line, the expanse of wide open fields, to this living, breathing earth that makes our own living and breathing possible. Look at the faces that surround you and notice what a wonder it is that we don't have to walk this world alone. All of it is a miracle. All of it deserves awe. May this time we spend together illuminate the astonishing radiance of it all. Please join me in saying the words for lighting our chalice. We light this chalice to affirm that new light is ever waiting to break through. May we be open to this light and to the rich possibilities that it brings us.
Those that are black and cold, not black and gold, but that's what I hear in my head.
When windows that are black and cold are lit anew eyes of gold, when dusk and quiet shall descend, and darkness come, once more a friend, when wings pursue their proper flight, and bring not terror but delight, when clouds are again, and hide no storms of deadly rain, and when the sky is swept of wars, and keeps but gentle moon and stars, that peaceful
Thank you. Please be seated.
Good morning. Today we have a child dedication ceremony, so I'd like to ask members of the Kirsch family who are present for that ceremony to come forward right now. Just come on over. Unitarian Universalists believe that every child brings new life and hope into the world. We set aside a special time called simply a ceremony of dedication for the community to bless the children and celebrate the gift of their lives. When we dedicate a child, we acknowledge the truth that each child's life is sacred and hold that truth in the light of our faith. Today we have with us the Kirsch family, Julie and Rich, and their children Owen Thomas Kirsch and Grant Nicholas Kirsch. Also, we have some extended family members who are serving as godparents. Justin and Jenna Kirsch, the boys' uncle and aunt, are here as Owen's godparents, and their aunt Melissa Cantola and cousin Lexi Dabin are here as godparents for Grant. To the congregation, this family has come to this congregation for support. Do you, the members and friends of this congregation, promise to affirm them as a family? Do you promise to create a safe environment for them where they can engage in their free and responsible search for truth and meaning? And do you promise to help them learn the value of a loving religious community? If so, please say, "We do." We do. To the godparents and extended family members who are up here, you have a special role to play in the lives of these children. Do you dedicate yourself to these children's best interests and to help them as they travel the path to adulthood? If so, please say, "We do." To the parents. Parents, do you promise to raise your children to the best of your ability, to listen as well as teach, to balance their safety with their freedom to explore, to nurture their physical, emotional, and spiritual lives? If so, please say, "We do." Working with props is always a problem. We'll start with Owen. Owen Thomas, this rose touches your brow that you might grow in wisdom and understanding, your heart that you might love abundantly, your hands, that you might find good work to do, and your feet, that you might always find your path through life. Do you want it? Grant Nicholas, this rose touches your brow, that you might grow in wisdom and understanding, your mouth, that you might taste the sweetness in life, your heart, that you might love abundantly, your hands, that you might find good work to do, and your feet, that you might always find your path through life. Hold on to it. Yeah. Please join me in the spirit of meditation or prayer. Spirit of life and love, we give thanks today for these children. May they be happy and healthy and a blessing to all who know them. We do not understand the great mystery from which each of us emerges and to which each of us returns. But we pray that while we are here together, we might all be angels for each other, bringers of peace and grace and love. Bless these children, bless this family, and bless all who know joy and all who know suffering. This we pray now and always. Amen. Please join me in welcoming Owen and Grant to our congregation. That's it, yeah. Really close to the microphone, like touching your lips.
Good morning, friends. If there are any kiddos present that want to come a little closer for our story, come on up. Good morning. Good morning, friends. Come on up. Oh, we've got big kids too. I love big kids too. What'd you say? No chickens today. I know, I'm sorry. They can't all be about chickens. You want to take a seat, bud? All right, let's get started. Our story this morning is called A Blessing of Love and Wonder. It was getting dark, and the weary travelers needed a place to sleep. It was almost 70 miles between Nazareth and Bethlehem, and Joseph and Mary were making the long journey that was required of them in order to pay taxes to the Roman Empire. It was a long journey for everyone, but Mary was feeling each and every mile a little bit more than others, as she was about to have a baby. And she was so tired. But there was a blessing. One of their neighbors in Nazareth had offered them a donkey for her to ride on the long trip. Kindness can make any journey a little bit easier. The trip to Bethlehem wasn't the only journey they were on. Mary and Joseph were on that exciting, sometimes nerve-wracking journey towards parenthood. It had been 9 months since the angel Gabriel had appeared to Mary, asking if she would carry this child, the Son of God. "Here I am," she had said, "let it be with me." And so, with her consent, Mary was pregnant. And there was another blessing, her dear, sweet Joseph, who believed her, who had faith in her and in God. Faith can help when times are confusing and difficult. And there in Bethlehem, this young couple was blessed with generosity, a place to stay. They were given space to rest until their baby was born. It wasn't fancy, but it was warm and it was safe. Out in the fields, there were shepherds watching over their sheep. It is said that angels came, announcing that a child was born. Now, I would guess that shepherds don't always feel important. They might not always remember that they matter, especially when they're out in a field at night. But on that night, there was a blessing. The angels came and sang, and they not only felt hope hearing of the birth of this little boy, but they also remembered, at least for that night, that each of them were precious. And a new star rose in the heavens, telling of the birth that one who would bring a message of peace, one who would bring change, one who would be called a king. Far away, wise ones heard of the star. They went to King Herod to tell him that a new king had been born. Herod was jealous and afraid of what a new king might mean, and so he sent them to find the baby. And though the stories say they traveled to find him, there was a blessing. The wise ones felt compassion for this family, and they chose not to tell King Herod what they had seen. And as Jesus was held and rocked and snuggled and fed and sung to, there was a blessing of love and wonder. There they were, all the people and animals gathered around a new baby, caring for him and for one another, resting in that amazing love. Over 2,000 years later, we retell the story of Jesus' birth and of his life and teachings. And there's a blessing, a possibility of a better world. This possibility arises when we remember that we're all connected. when we choose kindness, faith, generosity, when we remember that each one of us matters. The possibility for a better world happens when we practice compassion, when we allow our hearts to be changed by love and wonder. So this Advent season, leading up to Christmas Day and then continuing into the new year, may you be touched by such blessings and share them with all those you meet. And with that, we will head to our new RE classes.
As you go, may joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. Know our love is with you always. As you go, as you go, as you go, may joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. Know our love is with you always. As you go, as you go. We're delighted to have with us today guest musician Daphne Alderson, who will be presenting a concert here at Sunnyhill on Friday, December 16th at 7:30 p.m. Daphne, accompanied this morning on accordion by Vladimir Molov, is offering us a special preview of that December 16th show. She will sing one song now and one later in our service. So when you are ready, Daphne Alderson.
I need to be able to see the accordionist. I peeked in to say good night, and then I heard my child in prayer, and for me some scarlet ribbons, scarlet ribbons for my hair. All the stores were closed and shuttered. All the streets were dark and bare. In a town, no scarlet ribbons, not one ribbon for her hair. Through the night, my heart was aching
This is a time in our service when we share joys and sorrows that have been submitted by members of the congregation. After each joy or sorrow that I share, please respond by saying, "We hold you in our hearts." A joy from Miriam and John Chang. They say, Dana and Eden Chang are singing with the Pittsburgh Youth Choir this afternoon at Trinity Church in the winter concert. We are so proud of both our girls' dedication. To the Chang family, we hold you in our hearts. A sorrow from Sandy Hallett. Sandy says, my brother Harley Hallett, age 66, passed away Tuesday, November 29th, while waiting for a double lung and liver transplant at Stanford University Hospital in California. To Sandy and her family, we hold you in our hearts. A sorrow on behalf of all of us. Longtime Sunnyhill member Liz Bergman died on Friday after having been hospitalized earlier in the week with heart problems. Liz and her husband Carl, who died in 2016, had become members of Sunnyhill in 1967, when this congregation was still in its infancy. The date for the memorial service has not yet been set, but I'll be meeting with the family this afternoon and will convey that information as soon as we find out. To Liz Bergman's family and friends, we hold you in our hearts. Please join me in the spirit of meditation or prayer. How very difficult it is to slow things down, to escape the hectic pace of moment after moment, tumbling down all at once in a chaotic heap. Mindfulness shattered and shards scattered all around with no seeming purpose or order. How hard it is to appreciate the passage of time when we feel as if we're behind before we start, when we feel as if time were an enemy lying in wait with deadlines and even death itself somewhere just down the way at the end of this short path. And yet we know the greatest gift that can be given or received is time. Just this moment. And being fully present to this moment with others who need the gift of presence more than anything else, who, like us, long for companionable stillness. In this moment of silence, let us share with one another the great gift of precious, wordless presence. Running upstairs at a frantic pace, I stop in my tracks when I see the moon shining through the landing window, as still as anything can be still, content and resolute in its magnificent indifference to the plight of humans ensnared in entirely too much doing. May we remember the shining stillness of the moon whenever we feel ourselves doing too much. May we sense the moon's calm demeanor anytime we feel overwrought and frenzied. May we return to this place of peace again and again. Amen.
Stillness, hold the stillness, let the stillness carry me. Find the silence, hold the silence, let the silence carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony. Seek the essence, hold the essence, let the essence carry me. Let me flower, help me flower, watch me flower, carry me. In the Spirit, by the Spirit, with the Spirit giving power, I will find true harmony.
As we heard earlier, Advent, the season leading up to Christmas, is meant to be a time of quiet expectancy, a time to contemplate mystery and possibility, a time to slow down and make room in our lives for something new to enter and to change us. Unfortunately, most of us, myself included, frequently fail miserably at living into the premise and the promise of the Advent season. Instead of taking time to contemplate, we become even busier than usual. Our calendars tend to fill up with special events, shopping trips, office holiday parties, family celebrations, concerts and recitals, travel sometimes, and seemingly one special event after another, sometimes even multiple events on the same day. Instead of slowing down during Advent, we tend to speed up. Aware of all the extra social obligations and special celebrations this time of year, we actually pick up the pace, racing from one thing to the next, rarely pausing even to catch our breath. Instead of making room in our lives for something new that might transform us, we tend to stuff our lives and ourselves full with food and drink, with material things, with things that glitter and gleam and buzz and blare. filling every nook and cranny of our being, the way we fill the space beneath the Christmas tree with so many things and so very little clear, empty space. But making space in our hearts, in our lives, is a vital spiritual practice. For it is only by making space that we might be able to experience wonder and awe. Recapturing a sense of awe and wonder is important for at least a couple of reasons. The first of which has to do with our attitude toward the natural world. For far too long, human beings have looked at the world and seen only resources for human consumption to fulfill our needs and desires. We have assumed dangerously, and I would say wrongly, that we come first in the order of things. But there's another way of looking at the world. As stated by Wendell Berry, we have lived by the assumption that what was good for us would be good for the world. We have fulfilled the danger of this by making our personal pride and greed the standard of our behavior toward the world. It is not only our own creativity that is stifled by our arrogant assumption, creation itself is stifled. Barry continues, we must change our lives so that it will be possible to live by the contrary assumption that what is good for the world will be good for us. And that requires that we make the effort to know the world and to learn what is good for it. We must learn to cooperate in its processes and to yield to its limits. But even more important, Barry continues, and here's where awe and wonder come into the picture. Barry says we must learn to acknowledge that creation is full of mystery. We will never entirely understand it. We must abandon arrogance and stand in awe. We must recover the sense of the majesty of creation and the ability to be worshipful in its presence. For I do not doubt that it is only on the condition of humility and reverence before the world that our species will be able to remain in it. For centuries, human beings have been separating ourselves from nature, seeing it as something that is ours to control, manipulate, and exploit, rather than seeing ourselves as only one small part of the natural world. We can no longer afford to think that we stand apart from the earth or that the earth and its resources belong to us or to anyone. Such thinking has led us to our current crisis, and the perpetuation of such thinking will only make things worse. But if we can regain a sense of awe and wonder in the face of creation, we have a chance to become real participants in the life of the natural world rather than exploiters of it. Awe and wonder can serve as antidotes to arrogance and hubris. Another reason to pursue awe and wonder has to do with the unlocking of our potential for emotional and spiritual growth. Most of the time as human beings, we start with the assumption that we already know most of what we need to know. And clinging to this assumption, we constantly search for evidence that we are right, all the while unaware that we might be, and in fact quite often are, wrong. And we tend to avoid anything that elicits awe and wonder because such things might upset our sense of knowing what we need to know and mostly being right. As psychologist and author Kathleen Vohs writes, awe is quite threatening in certain ways, and something that is challenging and unwelcome can border on fear. The experience of awe is one where you are temporarily off kilter in terms of your understanding of the world. People mostly walk around with a sense of knowing what is going on in the world. They have hypotheses about the way people behave and what might happen. Those are pretty airtight. It is hard to get people to shake from those because that's just how the brain works. Vohs continues, we are always walking around trying to confirm the things we already think. When you are in a state of awe, it puts you off balance, and as a consequence, people might be ready to learn new things and have some of their assumptions questioned. The experience of awe and wonder can feel threatening or anxiety-provoking. But without such experiences, we are rarely challenged to change in important ways, to question our assumptions, to imagine that there is something beyond what we think we know. Anne Lamott, who writes beautifully about spiritual matters in a very down-to-earth way, published a book some years ago titled Help, Thanks, Wow, the Three Essential Prayers, in which she describes the three aspects of prayer that she sees as most important. The first aspect of prayer, help, is an acknowledgement that not all is right with us, that not all is right with the world, that we are not always able to do what needs to be done, and certainly not entirely on our own. We need help. And acknowledging that we need help is often the first step toward healing in its many forms. The second aspect of prayer, thanks, is about experiencing and expressing gratitude. We're all familiar with this kind of prayer. Many of us grew up offering table grace, giving thanks before shared meals. Gratitude is considered an essential practice of almost all religious and spiritual traditions. And the third aspect of prayer, wow, is about awe and wonder. The experience of awe and wonder can move us toward a new way of looking at things and can move us instantly from one plane to another. As Lamott says, when we are stunned to the place beyond words, we're finally starting to get somewhere. It is so much more comfortable to think that we know what it all means, what to expect, and how it all hangs together. When we are stunned to a place beyond words, when an aspect of life takes us away from being able to chip away at something until it's down to a manageable size and then file it nicely away, when all we can say in response is, wow, that's a prayer. There are times when we experience something, often something that is at once terrifying and beautiful, that shakes us up, that shakes us out of our dulled senses and into a new way of perceiving the things around us. These moments often seem to come unbidden, out of the blue. I described one such moment in the prayer that I read a few minutes ago. One evening in December, several years ago, I found myself thoroughly occupied and thoroughly exhausted with thoughts about everything. About everything that had to be done, about the church budget that needed to be passed, about the sermon that had to be written, about the gifts that had yet to be purchased, let alone wrapped, about the dozens of things on my to-do list that I had no hope of getting to that night or perhaps ever. I was thinking about all of these things and running up the stairs at our house to retrieve something that I left in our bedroom when I suddenly became aware of the moon. We have this big window on our staircase landing. It's 6 feet tall and maybe 2 or 3 feet wide. And there was a full moon that night that seemed to fill that window. It was radiantly bright. Every feature of the moon's surface seemed to be visible, incredibly close and unimaginably distant at the same time. As I described it, as still as anything can be still, content and resolute in its magnificent indifference to the plight of humans, ensnared in entirely too much doing. I think we've all experienced moments like the one I described, moments when we are surprised by something that stops us in our tracks and calls us to look at the world and our lives in new and different ways. We can't force these moments to happen. We can't just will them into being. But we can cultivate our awareness and openness to such moments so that we can recognize and appreciate them when they do come our way. Stillness makes space for wonder and awe, which lead toward reverence for the natural world and for the beauty and complexity of all human experience and life itself. I recommend taking little moments of stillness and beauty where you can find them and doing your best to be fully present to them. And what a gift it is today to have this child dedication service. There is no greater miracle and nothing that will shake you to your very core like truly being in the presence of a child. New life just has a way of changing everything around it. But there are little ways that we can practice stillness in order to be open. Each night before I go to bed this time of year, I pause in our living room for just a few minutes with all of the lights out in the house except for the lights on our Christmas tree, and I simply sit and breathe. And I find that in those moments, I do make space in my heart and in my very being for something new, something mysterious, something I desperately need, but rarely seek or find. I suggest that we use every opportunity that we can to practice stillness. There will be a certain amount of noise and chaos inherent in this season and in our challenging lives and times. But there will also be moments when, if we are still enough and aware enough, we might hear something else. There will be moments, if we make room for them in our hearts and minds, when we begin to sense the wow of life in ways that might challenge and change us and might help us change our way of living. I hope and pray that during this season and all the seasons of our life, we might make space for moments of awe and wonder, and that in so doing, we might begin to heal ourselves and our world. May it be so. Amen.
Please rise again and body your spirit for our hymn, People Look East. This is one that we haven't sung before, so Buddy's going to play it through once before we join him in singing.
People look east, the time is near of the crowning of the year. Make your house fair as you are able. Trim the hearth and set the table. People look east and sing today. Lo, the guest is on the way. Furrows be glad, no earth is bare. One more seed is planted there. Give up your strength, the seed to nourish, that in course the flower may flourish. People look east and sing today. Lo, the rose is on the way. Stars keep the watch when night is dim. One more light the bowl shall brim, shining beyond the frosty weather, bright as sun and moon together. People look east and sing today. Lo, the star is on the way.
Please be seated.
It's time for our morning offering. We don't have a designated offering this morning, so our collection will benefit Sunnyhill and will help defray our operating expenses. If you'd like to make a gift via our online giving system, you can do so by going to sunnyhill.org and click on the button that says Online Giving, and then follow the instructions. Or you can give by text at 412-324-3130. Text the amount of your gift and the word pledge if you want your payment to apply to your 2022 Sunnyhill pledge. Otherwise, text gifts will go toward our general operating fund. You can also mail in a check if you prefer, and you can find our mailing address on our website at sunnyhill.org. For those of you who are here with us in person, we'll be passing our offering baskets around in just a moment.
This song was written in 1937 for the great French chanteuse Edith Piaf by her boyfriend, Raymond Also. Raymond Also was her mentor, her teacher, really taught her the art of the chanteuse, which was very prevalent in Europe at that time. It is a love song. I know the theme for your service is awe and wonder. For me, I feel great awe and wonder to be able to make music with Vladimir Molov. He's a beautiful musician and human being. And we thank you for allowing us to be in your space to share with you this awe and wonder of first short-lived love, this song. Sur la route, la grande route, un jeune homme va chanter. Sur la route, la grande route, une fille va rêver. Une fleur en son corsage et des yeux pleins de douceur. Une fleur en son corsage et des rêves pleins le cœur. Oh, je une fille rêvée. Sur la route, la grande route, quand ils se sont aperçus, sur la route, la grande route, l'un vers l'autre sont coureux. Dans mes bras, il a tenu, il a dit, oh tu me plais. Dans tes bras, il a tenu, elle a dit, tu espérais. Oh, je ne chanterai. Et la fille rêvée. Il a dit, l'attend au sage. Elle a dit, elle meurt aussi. Il a dit, bonjour courage. Elle a dit, toujours nous deux. Tandis que voici la route, elle chante sur ta voix. Elle a dit, sur la route, elle pleure tout doucement. Oh, je ne chanter.
Please join me in saying the words for extinguishing our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Just a few quick announcements before our closing words. One thing is that One World, our annual holiday celebration at Sunnyhill, is taking place this coming Saturday, December 10th. And there's a link to register for that was distributed in the Beat. They're trying to get some accurate numbers for purposes of planning food, among other things. We encourage you to come to this event. It's our big holiday blast of each year. Also, I wanted to announce that we reached our pledge goal for 2023. So, yes. I want to thank everyone who pledged. For those of you, because we still have a few that have not yet pledged, this doesn't mean that you're off the hook. We still need to get your pledge in as well. And it would be good to have a little bit of a cushion as we enter into 2023. And we will have a question and answer session about the budget in this room at 11:15 or thereabouts after the service is over. And we're having a budget meeting immediately after the service next Sunday. So we ask all members who come next week to be here and stay in the room after the service so that we can get to that budget meeting. Also, I wanted to let you know that we're holding a special service here on Tuesday, December 13th to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the Sandy Hook shootings. This is an event that's being co-sponsored by Ceasefire PA and some other anti-gun violence organizations. That's Tuesday, December 13th at 7:30 p.m. Also, going back to our pledging for a moment, this past week we added as an extra incentive for everyone who pledged, we entered them into a drawing to win a basket full of fabulous Sunnyhill swag and other goodies. So we entered everyone's name into the drawing, and I would like to announce that our winner was Sarah Yord. So we'll close with these words from Bruce Southworth. In our hungering for meaning, in our aching for friendship, in our yearning for justice, in our hearts remembering of finer days, may we look deep within the mystery of things and gather our strength. May each of us proclaim the graceful power of life and love, and so may we live in hope. Go in peace.